Before this story starts, I want to ask you something honest. How many things are you currently in the middle of? How many books half read? How many courses half finished? How many ideas half explored? How many conversations half present for? This story is about what happens when one man decided that half was not enough. Let's begin our story.
In a small town at the edge of a river, there was a library. Not a grand library, not a famous one. Just an old building with tall shelves and good light, and the particular smell of rooms where books have lived for a long time. The librarian's name was Edmund. He had run this library for 31 years. He was not a remarkable man in most ways. He dressed plainly. He spoke quietly. He arrived before anyone else and left after everyone had gone. But he had one policy that made him the most argued with librarian in the region. One rule. One single rule. You may borrow one book at a time. One book. That is all. And you may not borrow another until you have finished it completely. Not almost finished. Not mostly finished. Completely finished. Last page. Last word.
People complained about this rule constantly. A university professor came in on Edmund's third year and demanded to know the reasoning. She said, "I am researching 4 separate subjects simultaneously. I need at least 8 books." Edmund said, "You may have 1." She argued for 20 minutes. Edmund listened politely. Then he handed her 1 book and wished her a good afternoon. A teenager came in wanting 3 novels for the weekend. Edmund gave him 1. The boy said, "But I read fast. I will finish this today." Edmund said, "Then you will be welcome to return tomorrow." A businessman came in wanting the latest titles on leadership and investment and productivity. Edmund gave him 1 book about a man who grew apples. The businessman looked at the book, then at Edmund, then at the book again. Edmund smiled and said, "I think you will find it useful." For years, the complaints continued. Parents complained that their children were falling behind peers who had access to more books. Students complained that 1 book was not enough to write their essays. Academics wrote letters questioning Edmund's philosophy. Edmund read every letter. He answered each one politely, and the rule stayed exactly as it was.
In his 20th year of running the library, Edmund began keeping a record. Not of books borrowed. He had always kept that record. But of something different. He began tracking what people actually remembered. When a borrower returned a book, he would ask them 1 question. "Tell me something you took from this. Just 1 thing. Anything. A line they remembered, an idea that had stayed." And he wrote down what they said, or what they could not say. After 5 years of this record, something became undeniable. The people who followed his 1 book rule, who read slowly, 1 at a time, completely, almost always had something to say. Often something remarkable, something specific, something that had clearly settled into them and become part of how they thought. The people who had found ways around the rule at other libraries, the ones who read many books simultaneously, the ones who consumed volumes upon volumes, they almost always struggled. They had read more, far more, and retained almost none of it. Edmund sat with this observation for a long time. He was not surprised by it exactly. He had suspected it for years. But seeing it written down across 5 years of careful records made it feel different. It felt like proof of something most people were not willing to accept.
In Edmund's 28th year, a young woman began visiting the library regularly. Her name was Clara. She was a graduate student, brilliant and ambitious, and always in a hurry. She had found a library in the city that operated without Edmund's rule. She borrowed from there extensively. She kept a list on her phone of every book she had read each year. She shared it on social media. People admired it. 43 books in 1 year, 51 the next, 60 in the year after that. She came to Edmund's library occasionally for specific older titles the city library did not carry. Edmund always gave her 1 book. She always seemed mildly impatient about this. One afternoon, she returned a book she had borrowed 3 weeks earlier. Edmund looked at her for a moment. Then he said, "Clara, I understand you read a great deal." She said yes, proudly. She told him about her list. The 60 books last year. Edmund nodded. Then he said, "Tell me about 3 of them." Clara smiled. She was about to answer easily, and then her smile became uncertain. She named 1 title, then paused. She tried to remember the second. She looked at the ceiling. She looked at her hands. She tried the third. She could not. Not because she was unintelligent. She was extremely intelligent. Not because the books were unmemorable. Many of them had been important works. But because she had moved through them, the way a person moves through a crowd, present for a moment, then gone, never stopping long enough for anything to take root. Clara stood at Edmund's counter for a long time without speaking. Edmund did not fill the silence. Eventually she said, "I have read over 150 books in 3 years." He said, "Yes." She said, "And I cannot tell you what most of them said." He said, "Yes." She said, "How is that possible?" He said, "Because reading a book is not the same as absorbing a book. Passing your eyes over words is not the same as letting those words change you. You have been collecting books the way some people collect countries when they travel, just to say they have been there. But you cannot say what the place smelled like, what it asked of you, what it left behind." Clara looked at the single book in her hand, the 1 book Edmund had given her today. She looked at it differently than she had ever looked at a book before. Here is what this story holds for us today. Consumption is passing your eyes over something. Absorption is letting it change how you think. And absorption requires something that our current world is deeply uncomfortable with. It requires slowness. It requires completion. It requires staying with one thing long enough for that thing to become part of you. 1 book read completely and absorbed deeply is worth 40 books skimmed and forgotten. 1 skill practiced until it becomes instinct is worth 40 skills attempted and abandoned. 1 conversation given your full attention is worth 40 conversations half present. You are not behind because you have not consumed enough. You are behind because you have not stayed long enough. Finish the book you are currently reading before you pick up another.
Not because Edmund said so, but because the next one will mean nothing if this one has not had time to land. Thank you for being here today. If this story found you at the right moment, share it with someone who is always in the middle of everything and finished with nothing. Leave a comment below with one word. I read every single one. Subscribe to Tales Studio Stories for a new wisdom tale every week. Stories that slow you down and give you something worth carrying. Until next time, finish the book.